Hi everyone, this is Bethesda Kev, and today we are going to look at the playable races in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. This is the first really important decision you need to make before you even decide to play the game, in my opinion. If you're sort of just going in there and you're like, oh, I'll just pick a race and a class and I'll just go with it, I think the experience is gonna be, I think it's a little detrimental to do that. Even if you're just playing it for the first time, I would suggest going on some of these pages. So this is the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages. If you just type in Oblivion races, it'll be the first result. At least it was for me. They have a really good chart here. So the human races. Oh, excuse me. The human races are the Bretons, the Imperials, Nords, and Redguards. The Elvins are the Altmer, Bosmer, Dumner, and Orcs, and then we have the quote-unquote beast races of the Argonians and Khajiits. So, like I said, they have a really awesome chart here that shows skills and attributes, which is really awesome. So they even have the height of the races. So, like the Altmer are the tallest, and they have both male and female. All right, so I'm going to give you sort of like the in general stuff, and you can look at this chart to look at more of the specifics. And also, what race you pick will also sort of determine what class you might choose or what sign you would also choose. So let's go ahead and just go over some general. So Altmer are very much a mage race. They're not really designed to be warriors. So that's why the strength is reduced. For males, the speed is also reduced, but they're also very tall. So tall usually means fast because they have long legs. So the speed's not really a huge issue. But everything else, like the increased intelligence is good because then you have more magicka. But the downside is if you're a male, actually it's for both. Fire, frost, and shock, negative 25%. That means that those spells do more damage to your character than it usually would. So, um, if you're going to be choosing an Altmer, that you're going to have to do some things to sort of move around that weakness. And so we have a plus 5 to alchemy, plus 10 to alteration, plus 5 to conjuration, plus 10 to destruction, plus 5 to illusion, plus 10 to mysticism. And so they're and they have resist disease. I didn't even know that. Um, that's cool. Resist disease is actually really helpful in Oblivion, so that's something that we something that I usually take into consideration. So Argonians are my favorite race to take in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, but they do have some setbacks. For the males, willpower is lower than the like 40 base. The endurance is below the base, and the personality is below the base. Personality ultimately doesn't really affect the game very much. You can bribe people to make them like you more, but I like to do that naturally, like through the speechcraft wheel and everything. So um, you have to look at, but endurance and willpower, that is an issue. So that influences what sign I take in the game. So we have plus 5 in alchemy, plus 10 in athletics. That means you don't get as tired when you're running or when you jump. Plus 5 blade, plus 5 hand to hand, plus 5 illusion, plus 5 mysticism, and plus 10 security. The plus 10 security is really nice. It means you can open up chests and everything a little bit easier with your lockpicks. You have a 100% resistance to poison, so you're basically immune to poisons, and a 75% resistance to diseases. The next one, Bosmer. These are the Wood Elves. They're the shortest race in the game. They have a 75% resistance to disease, and they're the best archers in the game. So I think it's probably up here somewhere. So plus 10 sneak, plus 10 marksman, there you go. plus 5 light armor, plus 5 alteration, plus 10 alchemy, and plus 5 acrobatics. So the Bosmer race being fantastic archers and having that alchemy boost too, they would make good assassins, to be honest with you. Use your bow and arrow as your primary assassination weapon. Add some poison to it. And you can sort of read here some of the deficits. Strength is a deficit, willpower is a deficit, personality is a deficit. So when I take a Bosmer, I try to be born under sign of the warrior to make sure I get the strength up there because that affects how much damage you do with melee weapons. So let's say I run out of arrows, which is very unusual. That probably would never happen to me. Um, I could actually do some damage with melee weapons if I put the points into it. And it also helps you carry more. So a Breton, I play exclusively males. So if you're playing a female, it's going to be a little bit different. And so the deficits in the Bretons, the male Bretons, are speed, agility, and endurance. You can take care of the endurance one with one of the signs. The speed and agility you can work on if you pick a certain sign. It really depends on what you're going to do. If you're going to be like a battle mage, it's going to be we want our endurance up because battle mages will get closer and use weapons and not just magic. But if you're doing like a pure mage, then I would probably put my sign into the thief and get the speed and agility up, so that if I have to retreat and shoot spells at people, I'm closer to the base starting point. And you can see their skills: plus 5 alchemy, plus 5 alteration, plus 10 conjuration, plus 5 illusion should be plus 10 restoration, and mysticism. Gotcha. And they have a 50% resistance to magic, which is really, really helpful when you're battling mages. Dumners are extremely versatile. They have a deficit in willpower and personality if you're male. Uh, the personality, like I said, isn't a huge deal, but I think willpower is a big one because it helps resist magical attacks. Uh, their Dumner are very skilled with melee weapons and the bow, so it's and they have plus 10 in destruction magic from the base, so it's actually a really good race if you want to do some damage. So they have plus 5 athletics, plus 10 blade, plus 5 blunt, plus 10 destruction, plus 5 in light armor and marksman, as well as mysticism. And they have a 75% resistance to fire, which is really awesome for the main quest because you're going to encounter a lot of enemies that throw fireballs at you. So no resistances here for the Imperial, but if you're looking to make some money, so if you're looking to make some septims, the Imperial is one of the best races for that because they have a plus 10 in Mercantile, if I remember correctly, and a plus 10 in Speechcraft. That's not a bad deal. Plus 10 in Heavy Armor, so they're a heavy armor race. The Dumner, I would suggest light armor. Bretons don't have really good fighting skills, so I would suggest heavy armor for them. Bosmer, I would suggest light armor. Argonians, I would suggest you could do both, in my opinion. They don't really have a specialty. Altmer, I would say probably light armor to use their speed advantage because of their height. But you could do heavy armor too. I've seen heavy armor Altmer characters in the game. But when it comes to Imperials, willpower and agility are below the base average. Willpower, like I said, is pretty easy. It would be the lady. You'd be born under the sign of lady. That would get your willpower up, but your agility would stay low. And they already have a very big boost in personality, so you don't really have to do very much for that. And blade, blunt, and they have hand to hand, so they're very It's a combat oriented race. But you can. The great thing about Oblivion is you can, depending on how you play, you can make any race fit any category. So the Imperial, they're more of like the warrior sort of classes. They're more geared toward that. That's their strength. The Khajiit, also a very versatile race. Willpower and endurance are below the base. Just be born under a sign of the lady, and you get plus 10 to those, so you get back to sort of like the base starting point. But the Khajiit are very agile, so they're more like a thief type build. And they have plus 5 in blade, blunt, hand to hand. They're actually really good at hand to hand. And wait a second, Khajiit's over here. Plus 10 acrobatics, so jumping. Plus 5 in athletics, so they don't get tired when they jump as much. Plus 5 blade, plus 10 hand to hand, plus 5 light armor, plus 5 security, and then plus 5 sneak. And you really want, with a Khajiit, I would definitely suggest a light armor build to use that acrobatics, athletics sort of those abilities better. Heavy armor really weighs you down. Conversely, Nords are known for their strength, and they're known to be a warrior sort of race. So that's why they have 50 here in strength, and then we have 50 in endurance. So they're going to start with more health, total health at the beginning. Their deficits are intelligence and willpower. To be honest with you, I'm more concerned about willpower than intelligence when I make a Nord build because I don't use magic a whole lot. But if you're planning to use magic, I don't think Nords are a very good race to do that with, unless you don't mind sucking at the the magic abilities at first, and then work your way to being really good at them. And they have a little deficit in personality, but that's not game breaking, so that's not a big deal. So they have plus 5 in armor, so repairing weapons and armor. Plus 10 in blade, plus 5 in block, plus 10 in blunt, plus 10 in heavy armor, and plus 5 in restoration, which is a little bit surprising. That's why I like to use Nords for battle mages, because of the restoration. And they have a 50% resistance to frost, which makes sense. They're from Skyrim, so they would be able to endure cold a little bit better. Orcs are also a warrior race. Probably, in my opinion, the best warrior race in the game. Their agility and speed are down, but they make up for it with their strength and their willpower. They have a 25% resistance to magic, which is helpful. And if you wanted to work on agility and speed, just be born under the sign of the thief, and that will boost those up by 10. Personality's down, but like I said, that's not very game breaking. And you look at the females, and it's like 25. That's because orcs are not the prettiest race in the game. So it it's one of those things, beauty equals good. That's a psychology thing. But their skills, plus 10 in armor, very helpful. Plus 10 in block, helpful. Plus 10 in blunt. Plus 5 in hand to hand. And plus 10 in heavy armor. And that 25% resistance to magic. Red guards are probably my favorite race when it comes to a build that's exclusively into like melee combat because of their boosts in many of the melee skills. However, they do have deficits in magic, so intelligence and willpower, for example. But they also have the 50 endurance, and the 50 endurance means that you start out with more health points at the beginning of the game. And I usually get born under the sign of the lady for red guards to boost up that willpower so that we can take those magical attacks a little bit better. However, their skills here plus 10 in athletics, so not getting as tired. Plus 10 in blade, plus 10 in blunt, plus 5 in heavy armor, plus 5 in light armor, and plus 5 in mercantile. So you can choose with the red guard. Do I want a red guard in heavy armor and take advantage of that little boost, or do I want to be a red guard in light armor? Sort of like there are a lot of bandits that are red guards, and they are in light armor. And they have 75% resistance to poisons and 75% resistance to disease, so very helpful. And it goes on here to explain that the movement speed is multiplied by its height, so that's why Altmer are actually pretty fast for their speed of 30 because of their height, and speedrunners will use them a lot. A lot. Those are non-playable races, and then these are just reactions. So an orc and an orc are going to be neutral, but an orc and anyone else is going to be -5. A Khajiit and a Khajiit will be +5, for example, because they're the same race. Bosmer and a Bosmer will be +5 because they're the same race. Argonian are the same thing. And there are some, like, there are races that hate each other. So Altmer and Dumner apparently don't get along. So that's -10. And Altmer, Argonians, -10, Dumner, -10, Khajiit, -10. And then the ones that are blank are neutral. Okay, so that's it for the races, the playable races in the game. In the next video, I'm going to go over the signs that you can choose in the game. So for example, if you're born under a lady, you get +10 to 2 attributes, willpower and endurance. But what about the other signs? What advantages, what disadvantages? Okay, everyone, so until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye for now.